On February 14, 2018, Nicholas Cruz killed 17 students and injured another 14 at a high school in Florida. In October of 2017, Stephen Paddock killed 58 people at a concert. Devin Kelly also killed 26 people at a Baptist church in Texas in November of 2017. Crime in America flourishes. All across America, individuals are looking for a solution to protect both themselves and their children. This solution, seen since the beginning of mankind, is capital punishment, also known as the death penalty. However, 19 out of the 50 states in the United States rule that the death penalty is illegal. A few of these states are Alaska, Hawaii, Illinois, Michigan, Wisconsin, New York, and New Mexico. Because of this, the United States federal government should require that all states enforce the capital punishment. Crime in America flourishes, which is the problem because the death penalty is not enforced. The solution is for the federal government to enforce the death penalty in all states. And the advantage is that crime will decrease. The problem in America right now is that crime flourishes because the death penalty is not enforced. President Ronald Reagan once declared that the tendency to downplay the permanent moral values has resulted in crime being the enormous problem that it is today. Every year, innocent people die, while their murders are not adequately punished. President Ronald Reagan once declared that the legal system has failed to carry out its most important function, the punishment of the guilty and the protection of the innocent people. In addition, gun restrictions also continue to increase, affecting one of America's greatest freedoms. The Second Amendment of the Constitution declares that the right of the people to keep and bear arms should not be infringed. However, this problem of flourishing crime has one solution. The solution is for the federal government to enforce the death penalty in all states. The government should explain the seriousness of this situation to the public. President Ronald Reagan once declared, "I believe the focusing of the public attention on crime, its causes, and those trying to fight it is one of the most important things we can do." In addition, the federal government should also pass laws requiring that states enforce the death penalty. If an individual takes another's life, their life must also be taken. President George W. Bush declared the reason to support the death penalty is because it saves people's lives. President Ronald Reagan also remembers that crime will end in America if Americans focus on the following truths. Individuals are responsible for their actions. Retribution should be swift and sure for those who prey on the innocent. By enforcing the death penalty in all states, many advantages will arise. The primary advantage is that crime in America will decrease. President Ronald Reagan remembered that while he was governor of California, a case of 12 murders were released from prison. However, their total number of victims was 34, not 12. He declared, "I think that capital punishment in the beginning would have decreased this considerably." In addition, by enforcing the death penalty in all states, incentive to commit crime would also decrease. President George W. Bush agrees as he declares that capital punishment is a deterrent against future violence and saves innocent lives. Franklin D. Roosevelt also declared that most law enforcement officers he had met believed that capital punishment was a distinct and definite crime for murder. Law enforcement could also decrease. The government would be able to have fewer prisons, smaller police force, and less funding for the fight against crime. Finally, gun restrictions could also decrease, which would ultimately protect our nation. Bowman declared that in the minds of the Founding Fathers, a militia was an armed citizenry rather than professional soldiers who could be called out in the state of emergency. By reducing gun restrictions, more Americans would be more apt to obtain guns, ultimately protecting their own nation, resulting in the need for a smaller police force and military. President Ronald Reagan declared that it is time to restore the American precept that each individual is accountable for his own actions. The problem in America is that crime flourishes because the death penalty is not enforced in all states. The solution is for the federal government to require that all states enforce the death penalty. The advantage is that crime in America will decrease. All Americans can impact this situation, primarily by contacting their federal government officials. Jefferson Sessions is the Attorney General for the Department of Justice. This department's job is to maintain and enforce law and order within America. Their switchboard is 202-514-2000. In addition, all Americans can also vote when the opportunity arises concerning this issue. The United States federal government should require that all states enforce the death penalty in order to make America a better and safer place to live.
That is all.